Is that Sean OMalley or is that Mr. New York Rick?
Hello.
Look at you. It's a nice shirt.
It is, right? Thanks to Kevin, who got the big ups today.
The big ups. I mean, rightfully so, right?
Yeah.
I feel like ever since he came on board,
I'm with you.
it's been changing over there.
Folks at Reebok are paying attention.
And
trying to
let's reiterate. Every time we talk about Reebok pay, we blame them for the Arjun Buller thing and all that. It's not them.
No.
It really isn't. Now, things like this is them. Creatively, of course they're working in concert with the UFC, but for the most part, this is them. The other stuff, the breakdown of the pay, like they're paying a yearly fee here, and then it's the UFC's discretion to, break it down whichever way they like. So sometimes they don't get, a fair shake in the MMA community. Trust me, there's been a lot that they deserve to be blamed for, but
and you've done it.
but these days, Kevin Collins is kicking butt.
Shout out to Kevin. We'll give away some of these Sean OMalley joints. That was not an intended pun, but we'll give away some of these Sean OMalley shirts later.
I'm still so the Utah Jazz have sent me a care package. First it's Everton, now it's the Jazz. I can tell you, I can make a living.
You watched it.
Well, listen.
I know you tried to throw Derek under the bus.
No.
But it was you. And you and Jonas teamed up to throw Derek under the bus.
No one told me that A, it was coming any day now, and B, no one told me that, I don't know. I don't want to say anymore, but that's my bad. That's my bad.
It is your bad.
Sweating like crazy here. It'd be nice to have.
Derek and Jonas did something so nice for you.
I'm so excited for that.
And you ruined it. But next week,
I can tell you, we'll
get the jersey on the set.
There are a lot of perks to saying that you're a big fan. The Blue Jays sent me a care package. The Everton Football Club sent me a care package. Now the Utah Jazz.
There's a lot of perks of having 100 different.
I'll tell you who's never sent me a care package. The New York freaking Knicks. Where's my care package? Might be time to rethink that whole thing. I'll tell you that much.
Look, they could do something nicer for you.
I could be bought.
Interview for the coaching position, because it seems like everybody under the sun is in the running, including Mike Woodson. So maybe they can interview you. Okay.
Yes. What do we have?
Let's get into Rick's picks. We're gonna start from the weigh-ins from UFC Glendale. We jumped in right as the part that I want to highlight came off the screen, so we'll let it roll back. But Israel Adesanya, I think with the highlight of the weigh-ins, and here squaring off with Marvin, and we're gonna let this roll back. The footage here from MMA Fighting. Shout out Casey as always. Here we go.
Now
getting on the stage. Now you see him pull out the scissors.
Yeah.
Do the starter cut.
Yeah.
Rips the shirt. Hulk Hogan. Doesn't quite make it.
Now, I feel like he did this on purpose.
You feel like he purposely botched the rip?
He had scissors in his pocket.
What do you mean? Of course he had scissors in his pocket.
So if
you need a starter cut, you can't just, he can't just rip a t-shirt.
Yeah, he could have done that backstage. I feel like he wanted to highlight the fact that he had scissors and he wanted to make light of the whole thing.
Yeah, possible, but either way, well done to Israel, who definitely knows how to get attention, and another example of him being a showman.
Now, by the way, can I ask you, what did you think of round 2 for him?
Let's we'll talk about that in the questions.
All right.
Next, we move to an entrance from UFC Glendale. Arjun Buller.
Yes.
Walking to the octagon, the first athlete to wear a turban to the octagon. Last time it was not allowed. This time it was. History made for Arjun Buller. Did not go his way in the fight, but all due credit and respect to his opponent. Can you help me with the pronunciation? Adam
Wieczorek.
Wieczorek. With the second ever omoplata in UFC history. And it's like, yeah.
Impressive.
A lot of people questioning whether the level of jiu-jitsu is there to be caught in an omoplata, but from people I've talked to, the actual technique was as clean as could be on that one. So all due credit to Adam.
I'll say this about before you get to the next one. I mean, it's a bummer. I don't think we should be too hard again. It wasn't like the UFC was going out of their way to ram him down our throats. I mean, this was a Fight Pass fight, and he fight. I believe it was also on Fight Pass in in Edmonton. So it wasn't like this was someone that we pinpointed as, okay, here's a fresh face. Here's a guy with an interesting backstory. Of course, he taps into a potentially very lucrative market for the UFC. He was the one who went out and really did a great job of marketing himself. You win some, you lose some. He's still very fresh in his MMA career. So I don't feel like this is egg on the UFC's face. I don't feel like this is another one. It's different when you have a situation like this. It's different when you have a situation like, when they pinpoint the athletes for body armor or Reebok.
Yeah.
It's different, like pushing them in the commercials. This is just a guy who lost in his second fight that was very low on the totem pole.
But to be honest, even those people who get the push, get the rocket strapped, they always bounce back. It's not a big deal. Everybody acts like the first time somebody loses after they've gotten a little attention and publicity, it's the end of the world, and now they can no longer be a valuable commodity. He's going to bounce back just fine. He did a great job drawing attention to the turban thing and promoting that and making sure that he was representing properly in that case, and he will be absolutely fine. I'm not concerned about the future career of Mr. Buller. Another winner from UFC Glendale, Gilbert Burns. I chose this because he went on Twitter. This happened during the show to ask who took the picture of his knockout and to properly credit Esther Lynn. And Esther responded, and
the logo's right there.
To that. Yeah. Well, just want to make sure that Esther was the photographer. He said it does show MMA fighting, but shout out to Gilbert Burns for giving proper credit to people who deserve it.
Burns
the hardworking people behind the scenes. Gilbert getting it done in the cage, Esther getting it done outside the cage with the beautiful photos.
And kudos to Gilbert Burns for the win, but also making way because it looked a bit dicey there for a second. But also afterwards saying that he wants OAM, the Canadian gangster Olivier Aubin-Mercier, but OAM saying nah. Did you see that?
I did. I like that fight.
I like the fight, but I can understand why he's saying nah.
Look, OAM gets to call his shots right now.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a fight and it falls out during fight week because of a failed, I think you're allowed to say no.
I think you're allowed to say nah for a certain amount of time. Maybe their paths cross later, and I'd still like to see that fight. Speaking of fights potentially being made, right after his win, Brad Tavares hopped into the backstage area where the Fox people were.
Yes.
And kudos to him for saying exactly what he said in the cage and calling out Michael Bisping, wanting to do that fight. It's easy to do that in the cage, and then when you see the person back down from it. But shout out to Brad, calling his shot and still wanting it and still getting after it.
I give him a lot of respect.
Yeah, Bisping kind of dismissing it, but respect to Brad Tavares for being a real one.
Yeah. Shoot or shoot.
Also, Israel Adesanya related, his post on Instagram and Twitter after the fight saying, "Yo, USADA, start testing them judges too, because you can't be scoring fights while you're high. If there were two incompetent judges last night scoring my fight, then I'd have missed out on my win bonus. Don't F with my bread, C-word. Any whore. I won. If you don't like it, I day fi here, come on, beat me." I don't know. I don't speak.
Hashtag cash me outside.
But hashtag UFC Glendale, hashtag cash me outside, hashtag cocaine is a hell of a drug. Not in agreement with the judge who scored it for Marvin Vettori. Another photo from Esther Lynn.
And by the way, I agree with his assessment that Vettori shouldn't have gotten that, but as I'm being exposed here for sitting way too far back and stretching in the middle, I mean, really, Austin, wow. Way to pull back the curtain on me there. My butt is just numb after, 4 hours and a half.
Here we go.
But lost my train of thought there.
You were saying you agree that
Damian
the decision
Brown
was bad.
said the same. The real message there is the win and show money breakdown. You like to put out, don't leave it in the hands of the judges. Well, that's not just, for like entertainment purposes. These men and women are literally leaving their careers, their bank accounts in the hands of these judges. And a lot of them are incompetent. And a lot of them don't know what they're watching. And a lot of them don't know what they're supposed to be judging. And why should they be the ones who are determining how much these men and women make? They fight an amazing fight. Let's just say there was one judge who just went rogue like that other judge. Marvin Vettori could have easily won that fight. And then Adesanya misses out on half his money. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Thankfully not, but clearly rounds 1 and 2 deserved for Israel Adesanya. Okay.
Really?
Dustin Poirier, who we had on the show earlier, posted the results of the leg kicks
Yeah, it's crazy.
by Justin Gaethje. This seems to be a thing. I think it started with Uriah Faber posting the purple leg. It seems to be a thing when there's a lot of leg kicks in a fight to want to see the damage, the aftermath. Here's the photos that Dustin posted. He actually talked about it in the interview, saying it looks worse now.
Look at the back.
This is yesterday, so who knows what it looks like today. Him saying that even more damage visible today. But, I mean, we'll talk about that fight later. Absolutely.
Dustin Poirier has a really nice kitchen. He often posts pictures from his kitchen.
Yeah, and he's a snacks connoisseur.
Is he?
Well, look, he talked
from
about
Fightville. Yeah, that's right. Okay, snacks. I thought you meant like in general, but I know he likes to get the snacks all laid out.
Also watch the Food Network.
Yes. I spoke about that already.
Okay, Justin Gaethje,
yes,
the other half of the main event, tweeting,
tremendous.
That's how you keep people from wooing during a fight, tagging DC. Justin Gaethje, one of MMA's good guys, one of MMA's finest young talents and personalities. Speaking of DC,
I don't think people have to really ask. There's not a. I want to fight John Jones. I do. You know, I still feel I can win. I know that I've lost twice, and last fight I got kicked in the head, but I feel like we were having a good fight. And I feel like every fight's been good. And I feel like if we fought a third time, it'd be even better. So I want to fight John Jones. That'll never change.
What makes you change? Because you were like mentioning
DC still wanting to fight with John Jones.
Are you surprised by this?
Of course not.
Yeah.
Somebody as ultra competitive as Daniel Cormier, who's done everything except this, that being defeat John Jones, of course he wants that fight.
And by the way, you'll remember that scene during Embedded where they tell DC,
yes,
Dana tells him that he's out, and he's like, can he sign a waiver letting me fight? Like, he wanted to fight him even after failing a drug test, not even knowing what the drug was. So, like, this shouldn't surprise anyone.
No.
And he's right. That fight was awesome. The second one.
First one was awesome, too.
Yeah, the second one was more awesome.
I'm with you. To which John Jones replied on Twitter, quoting that MMA fighting social post.
Yeah. Nice
Come
job.
get me, baby. John Jones. Also interesting.
Now, how do you feel about that tweet? Because he can't come get him.
Yeah, what else is he going to say?
Yeah, all right.
Of course. What? He's just going to...
See you soon.
He's been firing back at the haters. No, I love that.
Him and Tyson Griffin.
Tyson Griffin got
like
into
a 5-year-old feud.
Yeah, you know what? Too nuanced, too complicated to go into
Jeez.
for the purpose of
The
this.
DMs and all that. Give me a headache.
I'm not about posting private messages either.
Yeah.
But look, John Jones and DC. Let's keep that rivalry.
Sure.
Okay, Lucas Martins won the Brave lightweight belt over the weekend, getting it done much like the Bellator main event. Actually, a slam led to an injured arm.
Oof. Oh, I don't want to watch this. Can we get a warning? Oh my, that's horrible.
Yes.
What's wrong with these people?
No, this is MMA. It needs to be chronicled. But congratulations to Lucas on a championship win. From Alexander K. Lee of MMAfighting.com, posting this earlier, the PFL is rolling out in a big way. Their full 6-division roster was announced and 11 events planned for 2018, first reported by John Morgan and Matt Erickson of MMA Junkie. PFL revealing more to come this year. A lot of details revealed today.
Oh, yes. That's a good, can I mention some of those details?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay, so yeah, PFL has come out with a lot of their season 1 details, as you just said, information on the upcoming season. So their first event is going to be June 7th at the Madison Square Garden Theater. There you have it. The 2018 season starts on NBCSN and Facebook. We at MMA Fighting exclusively got the inaugural card. Andre Harrison fighting in the main event. Lance Palmer is going to be on the card. It's basically going to be featuring featherweights and heavyweights. You can see the entire card right now on MMA Fighting. And there's some very familiar names like Harrison, like Lance Palmer, Alexander Almeida. There's Steven Seiler, Marcus Galvão, Timur Valiev, who was just in studio with Zabit last week, Mike Kyle, Sean Jordan, Jared Rosholt, Jack May, Josh Copeland, Francimar Barroso. So that's the first event on June 7th, and it's a 12-fight card. Also coming up, so it's going to be every second Thursday. So it'll be June 7th. The following event will be June 21st in Chicago, Illinois. Then 2 weeks later, Washington, D.C., July 5th. July 19th, Long Island. August 2nd, Long Island. August 16th, Atlantic City. August 30th, Atlantic City. And then it'll be the playoffs, October 5th and 13th in a city and venue to be determined. October 20th will also be a playoff event. And then December 31st will be the championship event. So basically, every weight class, every fighter in every weight class who competes, and they're all tournament fights except for when Kayla Harrison competes. There's not going to be a 145-pound tournament. They all fight twice. And how do they advance? This is how they advance. Well, these are the weight classes: featherweight, lightweight, welterweight, middleweight, light heavyweight, heavyweight. And each weight class will feature 12 fighters. Okay, standings will be determined via a point system, with wins being worth 3 points, draws being worth 1. Additional points will be rewarded for first round finishes, 3 points, second round finishes, 2 points, third round finishes, 1 point. Everyone will fight twice, as I said, with the top 8 in each division advancing to a single elimination playoff tournament. This was all first reported by MMA Junkie. They've come out and sent out a press release. It's all right there for you to see. In total, this is what they're claiming. $10 million is being allocated for prize money, with playoff runner-ups receiving $200,000, semifinal finishers $100,000, and quarterfinal finishers $50,000. And as I mentioned, it's going to air on NBCSN, and also a pre-fight, post-fight show on Facebook, and some early fights on the cards also airing on Facebook. Some of the other notable names, of course, Will Brooks, Jake Shields, Brandon Halsey, Rashid Magomedov, Chris Wade, Abu Bakar Nurmagomedov, the younger brother of Khabib Nurmagomedov, to name a few. And so it's finally going down beginning June 7th. A lot of East Coast shows, so that's exciting for the East Coast fans. And look, I have expressed concern about the tournament format, the regular season format, all that stuff and more. It can get a little confusing, but if you are a fan of MMA, and if you are a fan of fighters getting paid, and if you are a fan of fighters having options, then I think it is something that is worth watching, and it is something that is worth getting behind. The more options, the better. This is healthy for the sport. This is important for the sport to have more options, to have other organizations outside of the UFC and Bellator. So let's wish them the best. Let's see what happens. Do I have some concerns? Do I have some questions about the payouts and the system and all that? Yes, I absolutely do. But it is good for everyone involved to see them finally roll out the details, and we wish them the best.
Yeah.
And I also think that Thursday is a good day for them. I liked when Bellator was on Thursday back in the day. I don't think it's smart to compete with Bellator on Friday. I don't think it's obviously smart to compete with the UFC on Saturday. I don't think Sunday is a good day. I think Monday is not a good. I actually think Thursday is the best day possible because you get ahead of it. Now, it will be interesting to see if the Dana White Contender Series is also happening on Thursdays again. Or was it Tuesdays in the summer?
It was Tuesday.
Okay. Oh, yeah. It's called Tuesday Night Contender
Tuesday
Series.
Night Contender.
Okay, so then you're good. I mean, there's going to be a crap load of MMA this summer outside of the usual events.
Yeah.
But I think that they picked the right day. They got a good partner in NBCSN. So let's see what happens.
Yeah.
They've got some good people behind them. They've got new investors. So,
and from a concept perspective, there's enough leagues, or there are enough leagues rather doing the standard product. Create this fight card, match up this way. This is something new. So let's see how
It's
the
something new.
tournament
Look, it's very hard in this day and age. Like back in the day, Strikeforce, Elite XC, they could put on women's fights.
Yeah.
It's very hard now with the UFC having essentially every weight class, having women, having flyweight, all that stuff. It's very hard to be different. So this is their opportunity to be different.
Yep.
I don't know if it translates. I think it's a little convoluted and confusing, but they've obviously put in a lot of time because they announced this a year ago. So we'll see what happens.
During the UFC Glendale event, you may have noticed, during the interview earlier, you may have noticed that Sean O'Malley got a new tattoo.
Yes. I asked him about it.
Luke Thomas asked, didn't Sean O'Malley get a face tattoo? This was during the event. To which manager, Danny Rubenstein, told the anecdote from Sean. The quote is, "Stupid enough to get a face tattoo, but smart enough to get a temporary tattoo first to make sure I like it," are his exact words. I appreciate the sentiment there. Get the temp tattoo first.
Yeah.
Like it, and then mark up your face.
This is how I know you don't pay attention to the show, because he literally said that word for word on the program like 2 hours ago.
I'm not listening to every little
it'd be
bit,
nice.
Ariel.
It'd be nice if you did.
Yeah,
Baba Booey listens to everything Howard Stern says. You're supposed to be the Baba Booey of the show.
Well, if I
what's
sat
been
here
said.
and just watched the show, guess what happens?
Nothing?
Nobody's on the show.
Well, he said that.
Al Iaquinta.
And by the way, Luke also exposing that he doesn't watch the interviews, which is fine. I mean, he's got a lot going on.
This is from Saturday.
No, but I've talked to him about the tattoo twice already. You now also exposing that you don't watch. I know when it doesn't concern you, when it's, pre-fight interviews on the road, you don't watch them, but it would be nice in preparation to be up to date, It's too much stuff.
Too much stuff. Speaking of old news,
yes,
Al Iaquinta finally posted his POV shot to Instagram from the infamous bus attack. My favorite part of it, when he put it into selfie mode and just showed his own reaction to it. But pretty good footage by Al. Well done. Might have a...
Yeah, you can clearly see that that's Conor right there telling Khabib to get out of the bus, right?
Yeah. And then everybody going, who is it?
Yeah.
Who is that?
It was at this moment we realized we weren't getting shot up by terrorists, and it was all a funny game. And look at his face.
He loves it.
Also, who'd have thought 24 hours later he was fighting in the main event?
Yeah.
With the guy sitting right next to him.
Shout out to Al. Just for no reason, just always.
Yeah.
Shout out to Al.
Who texting me in the middle of the Kevin Lee interview and getting me in trouble.
He's got to do it.
This guy.
Okay. From WWE, but related to a broadcaster of the combat sports, Mauro Ranallo. I don't know if you saw this one.
I did.
Absolutely unhinged as he's doing commentary for NXT TakeOver, but showing the passion that this man has for everything he does. Big shout out to Mauro. Can we bring up some of the audio on this?
It's incredible.
Ricochet is the gift that keeps on giving.
That's a great line.
But Ricochet didn't miss that right hand, popping it like a cork. Velveteen Dream. My God, a rolling Death Valley driver.
He's just riding it with you, which is everything that needs to be said about Mauro, the man.
It's a great jacket too.
Well done.
By the way, I love the fact that in that whole video, the guy on the left is not saying a word.
No, I mean, it's the Mauro show right there.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Okay. Also, familiar voices.
Oh, yeah, look at this. This is amazing.
This YouTube video by Steve Aoki.
Can I watch this for a second? Because I haven't seen the whole thing. Is Bruce Buffer... explain what this is.
This is
a little loud in my ears, as much as I love it. Yeah, okay. What do we got?
This is a video
Yeah.
by Steve Aoki and Laidback Luke called It's Time, featuring Bruce Buffer.
Okay. Those are UFC gloves, right?
They were, yeah.
Now...
You'll see in the credit, filmed on location at the UFC Performance Institute.
And it has over 1 million views already on YouTube.
Bruce Buffer.
There he is. Now, does Bruce actually sing? Why did we talk about Steve Aoki recently on the show?
He posed with John Jones. John Jones went to a concert.
Oh, and then we found out that his dad started Benihana, right?
Yeah. tremendous shape.
Yeah. Who's this guy? Do you know this guy?
Yeah, he's another
DJ?
DJ.
Are there are there any lyrics to this song?
No, this is like EDM stuff
Oh, okay.
with Buffer saying it's time. Oh,
Was that Yair Rodriguez?
I thought I saw Ken Shamrock too.
It's like a Where's Waldo?
That is Ken Shamrock.
Is it? Can't really tell. Wow. Who knew Steve Aoki was in such shape?
I feel like all the pictures of him are shirtless, so I think many people knew.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, this is something.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
music video featuring Bruce Buffer.
Yeah. Good job, Bruce.
Pretty sure that is Ken. I mean, but crossing over. Okay. Also, Wiz Khalifa reaching out to Bruce Buffer that he needs him. He needs to collaborate with him.
Now, what is Us Taylors?
He's Taylor, yes? Something like that? Somebody with more knowledge of this. Yeah, like he has a Taylor gang.
Huh? His last name is Taylor?
No, maybe. I don't know. I don't know where it stems from.
Okay.
Somebody who's much more plugged into the music scene needs to tell me about it. Taylor Gang Entertainment is an American entertainment company. It operates as an independent record label, music management, music production, and film company based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, founded by rapper Wiz Khalifa.
Crazy. Bruce Buffer in demand.
In demand from the music world. Last thing from the music world. Holly Holm here posing with Justin Timberlake. No real story or explanation to this, but thought it was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Where was that, at a concert or something?
I'm guessing so, yeah.
Crazy.
I think this is our last one. Josh Gross here posting the results of the first MMA JA election.
Yes.
President, Ben Folks.
Historic day.
Vice President, Ariel Helwani.
Yes.
Secretary, Josh Gross. Treasurer, Mark Raimondi. That's 2 MMA fighting. At-large officers, Mike Chiappetta, Dave Doyle, and Jeff Wagenheim.
Yes.
That's another 2 MMA fighting.
And 1 beatnik.
And then 1 outside the family, Jeff Wagenheim.
Now, I have the distinction of being the only person of that group to have lost in the elections, but still
Yes.
be a member of the official board. Now, I will say this. A lot of people, they like to make jokes about the MMAJ and say, oh, where's the MMAJ? Again, I will reiterate something that I said on the beat. The MMAJ isn't a news outlet. Like, you're not going to hear updates from us. We're not a news outlet. I didn't get behind it to do awards, Hall of Fame. Like, that stuff may come down the line, but that's not why I felt strongly about starting something like this and why I felt like it was long overdue. I did feel like it was long overdue to launch it, and I felt like it was long overdue that we had an election so that we had a proper board in place. And I was nominated for a couple things. I elected to accept the nomination for vice president because I didn't feel, given the impetus for all this, I just felt like it would be best to take vice president as opposed to president. But no one actually accepted the nomination for president. And so what we determined was Ben and I would run for president, and the loser of the election would then become the vice president via default. And so I'm okay with that. And I'm very proud that we finally had the election. I want to give a shout out to Jeremy Botter for actually doing the legwork in terms of setting up the election online, which was a very difficult process, and it was very impressive the way he did it all. And that's it. Like, we're doing stuff behind the scenes. We're helping each other out. We're working on it. But this is not something where you're going to be seeing up, like, our Twitter feed isn't a very active one, and there is a conscious reason for that. It's not something that we're looking to make waves. We're not looking to get into fights and picket and draw lines in the sand and do all this kind of stuff. It's not what we're all about. It's about a fellowship. It's about a healthy media core. It's about being on the same page. It's about working together as well as possible. It's about avoiding incidents like the one I went through. And it's about having this great relationship within the MMA media core. I would love to see more media members sign up for it. I know there's a lot of high profile ones who haven't. I'm not quite sure why, but that's their prerogative. But we're going to keep doing our thing. And hopefully in 100 years, we'll look back on this time and say, like, this is how it all launched. And I think it's an important thing to have in place. So it's one of the greatest accomplishments of my professional career, just being a small part of this. And by the way, since we're mentioning it on the show, we got to give a shout out to everyone at Vox who helped us: Sarah Kogod, Jim Bankoff, everyone who played a part in launching and in being a valuable resource and a helping hand in terms of launching, because they didn't have to do that. They stand to gain nothing from doing that, and they really were instrumental. So it's a very cool thing. I'm excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And we move on to questions, starting with Ariel Helwani. And let me bring up the results of this poll. Ariel Helwani, the MMA Hour question of the day, asking, who would you like to see Dustin Poirier fight next? The selection options are...
Yes.
There we go. Hold on. Nurmagomedov, Alvarez, Ferguson, or the winner of Lee and Barboza. With over 27,000 votes, 41% of the fans out there want to see him fight Eddie Alvarez, followed by 22% Khabib Nurmagomedov, followed by 19% Lee Barboza winner, and 18% Ferguson.
How do you
So
feel?
they want the rematch.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel like that's the fight that has the best chance of happening. And also it feels like it's unresolved. And also it was a great fight. And I feel like it'll be an even better fight the next time around. It's a bit of a bummer that it didn't come to fruition in Brooklyn. That would have been a great place for it. And how crazy would things have been if one of those guys would have slid, through the back door after the whole Ferguson and Max Holloway thing happened. But if they do, again, as I said to Sean, and, feel free to weigh in, Khabib Conor, perfect world. Khabib Conor at MSG in November. Poirier Alvarez, Ferguson Diaz, and Barboza Lee winner against James Vick. That's what I want to see.
I'm into it. Okay. This question from Eric G. Do you think after his last performance and call out, does Poirier get the title shot? Let's not talk about what we want. Do you think he gets this?
I think he has a chance. Look, there's no guarantee that Conor comes back when they want him to come back. No guarantee. Of course, that's what they want, but there's no guarantee. And of course, we don't know how his legal troubles will pan out. I don't think that Nate Diaz is going to get that fight. Maybe Eddie Alvarez, but he has to sign a new contract. The bottom line is it's not a crazy call out. Look,
no,
he shot a shot on national television, on Big Fox. Why not? I probably would have done the same.
And I think he makes a good case for it.
Yeah.
Is Justin Gaethje the most fan-friendly fighter to ever grace the UFC? He's always happy to have a good scrap. There's a lot of talk on social media about whether this is a long-term fighting style. Does Gaethje need to adjust his fighting style to become a more effective fighter rather than a crowd pleaser? I
don't know if he's the most fan-friendly, because I think that's a big statement. He is an incredibly entertaining fighter. I can't imagine anyone not being a fan of his. I can't imagine anyone not enjoying watching his fights. But as someone who enjoys watching his fights and enjoys him as a human being, I do wish there was a time, because I remember talking on this very show when he was in WSOF. I remember talking about, okay, like what happens when he gets to the UFC and what happens when he fights top 5 guys, and how is he going to be able to, stand in the pocket with them and take this kind of damage when he's fighting heavy hitters like Eddie Alvarez, like Dustin Poirier. And so there is a part of me that wishes that maybe he would rectify this kind of stance that he has and say, like, look, okay, the style got me to this point, but if I want to have, a sustained career, if I want to have longevity, maybe I need to do this and that different, as Sean Al-Shadi pointed out, clinch, etc. That being said, he seems pretty set. He continues to say he has 5 fights left. 5 fights is a lot, and it's also a little. Like 5 more fights of that kind of damage is a lot. And it's also little for a guy who's 29 years old. So either way, 5 fights or not, I would love to see him try to take less damage. But for our entertainment, selfishly, it's fun. But I feel like there's a balance that can be had. And I would love for him to strike that.
Without sacrificing that badge of honor. without sacrificing being the violence champion.
I enjoyed the Watterson-Casey fight just as much as the other,
Sure.
the main event. And that one, there was very little damage. It was all, a chess match on the ground. I don't feel like it needs to be Rock'em Sock'em Robots for me to walk away and say, wow, that was the greatest fight of all time. I know not everyone shares that opinion, but I don't want to see him have a shortened career. I don't want to see him, have CT. I don't want to see him have any of that stuff. And he recognized it. Like, he's brutally honest, and I respect that. He's brutally honest about having to take some time off in between fights because of the damage that he takes. But, he's just such a great fighter and a great guy. I wish, it's kind of like when you hear some fighters who are like, my objective is to take no damage whatsoever. Get in there, not
Dustin
get punched
being
once.
one of them.
Yeah, even though he's taking damage.
Yeah.
And then you have other fighters, like I hear John Vellante say all the time, like, I just want to fight of the night war. And to me, it's like, you're getting paid the same. It doesn't really matter. Like, you can have, of course, there's like the bonus factor, but your purse says the same if it's a fight of the night war or if it's, just
but if Justin Gaethje is not
seconds.
involved in these types of fights, does he get the momentum behind him the same way?
I think I
feel like there is a correlation to that. There is
sure. But look at Khabib. Khabib doesn't get into these kinds of fights, and he's still uber popular. Like, you could still be dominant and
there's
successful.
a lot of ways to do it.
Yeah.
I think he wears it as a badge of pride, and I'm not going to be mad if he continues to do that. Because I find his fights endlessly entertaining.
Absolutely. What I guess I'm trying to say is I appreciate and love watching him fight. I love covering him. But at this point, we've seen that kind of fight enough to where I would also love to see him take less damage and be successful.
There's no argument against that. Okay. Israel Adesanya's, from Nicholas, do you think Israel Adesanya's performance highlighted the need for him to be pushed less expeditiously? There's no doubt he won, but it could be said that he wasn't as electrifying and maybe should get a gradual increase in skilled opponents. Do you think that this was too big a step up for Israel? Did his performance fall flat?
I don't think it fell flat. I enjoyed the fight. I think if you're talking like, let's not forget, Marvin Vettori is no bum.
No.
And I think by saying this, you're not giving him the credit that he deserves. Marvin Vettori is a good fighter. He's a young fighter. He's an improving fighter, and I think he fought him very well.
And also, even though it was a split decision, I think most people would agree that it should not have been. That
no.
It was a very clear. It was an easily scored fight, even though it was still. You could call that a close fight without saying that the scores were easy to render. The first 2 rounds to Adesanya, the last round to Vettori.
Would I have been surprised if he starched Vettori and knocked him out in the first round? Yeah, because I think Vettori is good.
Yeah,
and I think he's tough, and so. I think that people are forgetting that he's no scrub. He's a big, strong middleweight, and he's super tough, and he's game, and his style wasn't the best. It wasn't the perfect. It wasn't, I'm not. It's like Kyle Bochniak was a perfect kind of opponent for Zabit, right?
Sure.
Because he was just going to stand. That's not what Vettori does. That's not who he is. So maybe they did a disservice to Israel. Maybe they wanted to test him. He's been around the game a lot longer. He's been in combat sports a lot longer. So maybe they felt that this was, a good opportunity. But I'm not ready to write him off. I'm not ready to say that he's a bust.
No.
Wins come in many different shapes and sizes.
Yeah, I'm also getting a little bit of the Conor McGregor vibes when Conor was, rising.
The pushbacks?
No, well, when he was coming up the ranks, there was a lot of, well, wait till he faces this, or wait till this happens, wait till this, and wait till Israel's going to face a wrestler. His takedown defense has been perfectly adequate.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we're seeing anything here that's not to be expected. He's not going to be able to walk into every MMA fight and just annihilate people. I thought it was a fine performance against, as you said, a tough Marvin Vettori. So
yeah,
he's the total package. He can fight, and he's got the personality to boot. I think you can push him.
I didn't mind it.
From Ali, who does the UFC need more for the end of the year? These are the options: Conor, Brock, GSP, John Jones, or one of the Diaz brothers.
All of the above.
Who would be the biggest
Conor
boon?
I would basically break it down like this: Conor, Brock, GSP, Jones. But then you go. Conor, Brock, GSP would probably be the top 3. And
Damn, Jones doesn't even make it into that tier.
Top 3. Who's Jones? Historically, Jones has not been a a bigger
Jones and
pay-per-view
Cormier though wouldn't.
draw than GSP. Conor Brock 1 and 2, obviously, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I mean Nate coming back would be good, but I feel like Nate's been out for too long. Like I said last week, I thought that he was the biggest loser in the entire Brooklyn incident because I felt like once they got the belt off Conor, that would have freed him up to do the trilogy. But now I feel like you have to do Conor versus Khabib. And that's why I want to see Nate versus Tony Ferguson. I think that would be a lot of fun.
What are the biggest differences in covering MMA from 2006 to now?
I like how he tagged Danny Rube. I guess he was
No,
responding.
he's responding to the tweet.
Oh, the biggest difference is, there's a lot of them. There's way more shows, right?
Yep.
There's way more shows. It's yes, Bellator's around, but it was different back then in the sense that in my early days, I wasn't credentialed. Thank God I came onto the scene when I arrived, that 2006, 2007, 2008 era, because UFC wouldn't credential me. But thank God there was Strikeforce. Thank God there was Affliction. Thank God there was Elite XC. Thank God there was the IFL. There were other shows that may not have been UFC caliber, so to speak, in terms of like name recognition, but they were just as good with just as big names. The big names were more dispersed around the world, around different organizations. So I was able to cover, Frank Shamrock against Nick Diaz and all the other Strikeforce events. I was able to cover Fedor versus Andrei Arlovsky and Fedor versus Tim Sylvia. So I was able to cover big names, even though I wasn't in the UFC. Today, the majority of the big names, 95% of the big names are in the UFC. So it's a lot harder if you're not credentialed to the UFC to gain some traction because Pride had just, gone under and a lot of those guys dispersed and there were just other names out there, bigger names, bigger draws. So that's a big difference. Of course, less shows back then compared to now, less UFC shows. And just the cosmetic things like the Reebok deal and the way it's presented on TV. Back then there was just the main card on TV and then we got 1 hour prelims. There were a bunch of fights that you could not see. You had to go on Sherdog and like refresh the play-by-play. Like
Jonas Jerebko talking about one before.
Yeah.
Edson Barboza's debut was not on TV.
Yeah, against Michael Lulo.
Yeah.
So, that's now everything's online. Like the worst fights
Every
possible.
single fight.
If you're on a UFC card or a Bellator card or a PFL card, you are somewhere. You are being broadcast to someone. There were times in the Strikeforce days where they wouldn't even tape it. Like not only was it not shown live, they wouldn't even tape it. So there was no actual recording of this fight, even if the craziest thing happened. Yeah. Which is, to me, a very silly mistake.
That has been rectified.
Yeah.
We have every angle of every thing that's happened.
So, and then, of course, doing this is different from back then. So, yeah, a lot has changed, if I'm, being honest. And not that long. Sometimes I think, wow, 12 years, that's a long time. And then I think 12 years, not that long.
It's pretty long.
Okay.
If you could choose one current fighter to do a whole 24 hours, quote unquote, day in the life segment on, who would you spend 24 hours with? You can follow them for 24 hours.
Wow.
Who is it?
Jeez. That's a tough one. I mean, there's the obvious ones, right? There's Conor, right? Those guys. I mean, I would love to spend a day with Khabib in Dagestan.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't that be something? Right?
The culture shock there.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to see how popular he is, And I want to see what it's like, him and his wife and his 2 children living with his parents.
Yep.
And, of course, I'd love to meet his dad. Legend. Did you see that footage of him coming home? That should have been on Rich Picks.
I forgot.
What was that?
I did see that.
The dancing and all that?
I think that might have been last week.
It was like Monday night. Yeah, it was a while ago. So that comes to mind. Anyone come to mind for you? Day in the life. I mean, it would be nice if it's someone who's foreign because then you get a different perspective. I always wanted to go to Poland with Joanna. Tony Ferguson seems like an interesting guy to spend a day with.
Yeah.
I'd love to go mushroom hunting with Rose and Pat. Oh, Max Holloway and Waianae. What a life over there.
No, see,
Mini Blessed.
I feel like
what
it'd be too much fun. There wouldn't be any strife. There wouldn't be any.
Well, I don't need that. I mean, of course, the Diaz brothers is.
My thing is, I kind of want to see you.
You want to see conflict?
Not conflict, but I want to see you in the element. I think a key part of this is you spending 24 hours with them. the way you and Rampage play off each other, that works as a thing. I want to hone in on it, but I don't have any great ones off the top of my head at the moment. Also, because it's a 24-hour thing, you can't really, it's not optimal. You just have to kind of hope for the best. You don't know what's going to happen in that 24 hours, but I think those are obviously good ones.
What about these Bellator ratings from our guy Jedi?
Yeah, not good.
Have you seen them?
I did, yeah.
Bellator 192 770K on Paramount, 193 470, 194 475, 195 465, 196 420. Dang. It also got 242 on oh wait. Whoa. Wait a second. 197.
Yeah.
Whoa, I didn't see that. 242?
Yes.
What? I didn't see that. I don't recall a Bellator card ever doing that low in like the spike. Maybe like in the back of the MTV2 era. What?
Well, I mean, you have to consider they switched the network. Like,
yeah, but it's the same channel.
But is it fundamentally different from a goals perspective? Yeah, the audience and what they're trying to achieve on that network. I get that, like, from a technical perspective, you're tuning to the same thing, but
wow,
there might have been some impact there.
And how about this little factoid? Did you see the one about a number of Bellator events that have done under 500K viewers on Spike Paramount? This according to Jedi Goodman, a must follow if you're into this sort of stuff. 2013, 2 out of 25 events. 2014, 0 out of 22 events. 2015, 0 out of 16 events. 2016, 1 out of 22 events. 2017, 7 out of 22 events that have done under 500K. 2018, 5 of 6.
Yeah. Now, to add some context, MMA as a whole is also experiencing that kind
oversaturation.
That drop in numbers. UFC pay-per-views are also declining. It's not necessarily a Bellator issue, but that is not obviously a good sign.
Wow. That is...
Yeah, not a great rating.
And then I scroll all the way up to his Twitter feed, and he writes, "You 24 hours with Brock." Could you imagine that? That's the one you're talking about.
You know what? That is that's the one. Jed got it. It is you and Brock. That's exactly it.
Oh my God! I want to
go into the compound. Oh my God!
I want to crap my pants.
Now
just thinking
here's
about
the key, though. I don't want Paul Heyman involved.
No.
I love Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
But I feel like he would be a barrier. He would be a buffer between it. I need to have you and Brock one-on-one.
Brock doesn't know who I am, though. It's a problem.
You can introduce yourself. It'll be great.
Oh, that's
He'll meet you for the first time.
That's a joke. You remember that?
Really?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, of course I got it.
I've never heard of him before. Who's that? I only worry about myself.
Look, he's a salesman.
Yeah.
You and Brock, that's it. Jed, well done. That is the one. Okay, what would be better for the sport? Have more qualified contributors to the UFC rankings or do away with the rankings altogether? They introduced them. Are they hurting or helping the case?
They
Should
are
we have them
hurting.
at all?
Get rid of them.
Just get rid of them.
They are
completely.
a huge pain in the ass. No one cares about the rankings. They don't.
And to be honest, they don't really serve that purpose anymore.
No,
the number one guy doesn't get the shot, so it doesn't really.
All it is a pain in the ass for the UFC matchmakers because everyone wants to squat on their spot. They don't want to fight the guy who's beneath them. I mean, the perfect example. Yair Rodriguez says, "Oh, hey, Zabit, meet me in the top 10." Meanwhile, you just fought Frankie Edgar. Like, if you're gonna have that line of thinking, no one's gonna move ahead. There has to be some kind of agreement that we're just gonna fight to keep this train moving along. And I think it has only brought distress to the matchmakers, and I don't see how it has helped in any way, shape, or form. I don't see how they book, I don't know,
number 3,
number 5. And they say, on Fox, and they have the little number next to their name, and everyone's like, oh, I have to watch this. No one cares. No one cares. It's not even like they don't even really sell it all that well. I think it's poorly designed. It's not something that they wanted to do. It's something that the TV execs wanted. It's what these general sports guys say, like, oh, people will relate to this. This is going to resonate with the audience. No one cares. That's not how it works. And if you can't get actual, unbiased media, and look, I'm not trying to hate. Like, there's some really good guys who are part of that. There's not as many as when it started. I think I did it for 1 week, and I thought to myself, like, what is the point of all of this? It's just inconsistent. They take guys out like Nate Diaz after they turn down fights. They leave other people in, for years, who aren't active. It's just, it's a flawed thing that I would love, once the new TV deal comes into play, I would love to see them get away with it.
You know what?
Speaking?
You're a host.
Yes.
Done it. Here's the segue.
And I didn't know.
Any update on the new TV deal?
By all accounts, it is close. I know there was a report last week via Therese Owens, and I saw a lot of people say, why didn't you talk about this on the beat? Because you know me by now. I don't like to speak about things that I don't know are 100%. I saw that report. It mentioned NBC. It mentioned ESPN. That was the first time that I had heard NBC's involvement. I had heard that Fox was close. That was the first time that I heard the NBC part of all of it. And I don't know. I feel like I would be surprised for two reasons if it ended up with NBC. A, they have PFL, which isn't the biggest deal, but
Sure.
they are somewhat committed to the PFL, although that's not a very lucrative deal that they have. So it's not like they have money tied up there.
And also that could be a shoulder thing.
Sure.
It could be also helping.
Exactly, although it's not very UFC-like to,
share the spotlight. Of course not. No.
The other thing is, back in 2011, they were at the goal line with NBC, and then a story came out that it was in the Wall Street Journal. A story came out that a report about them being essentially at the goal line, and that they were going to turn the G4 network into the UFC network. And it was at that moment that Fox finally came to the table, and they were able to strike a deal at the 11th hour. And that actually reminded me, if you recall, when the reports came out that the UFC was for sale, and Dana White went on that media tour and said, "Oh, we're not for sale." That reminded me. I brought up that Wall Street Journal report because I believe that Wall Street Journal report was planted by the UFC to get Fox to up their offer. And when Dana came out and was denying the sale rumors, that to me was a sign to let the other people know, like, final offers need to come in here. The denial was an acknowledgement that we are serious and the final offers need to come in. I'm not saying that the Therese Owens report is the same thing, but I do know that because they went from NBC to Fox at the 11th hour, that it left a very bad taste in the mouth of the NBC executives, and that a lot of the high-powered executives swore to never do business. Things may change, cooler heads prevail, different era, different ownership, etc. But I was surprised to hear that. So we'll see. I think the most interesting part, at the end of the day, you're going to get your UFC action one way or the other. You're going to get it on TV. You're going to get it on multiple platforms. It's very interesting to see where it turns out. To me, if you're an MMA fan, here's what you need to pay attention to the most. Two things. A, how many events in total? Mm-hmm. The breakdown of pay-per-views. Is it actually going to be 6 or so pay-per-views? Is it going to be, the usual 12? And then how many fight nights? And then maybe even more important, I wouldn't say more important. I'd say number 2 would be who's controlling the production. Because if it's still the UFC, we're getting the UFC product of old. If they are finally going to relent and hand over production control to these networks, whether it is Fox, whether it is NBC, whether it is ESPN, or anyone else under the sun, CBS, HBO, Showtime, anyone you want to bring up, that is a massive step in terms of the improvement and evolution of this sport, because for the longest time, this sport has been presented in a sort of WWE-like way where the UFC is controlling production, so they're letting you know whatever they want to let you know about. If this is produced like a real sport, now it's being presented like a real sport. Remember my issue with Aljamain Sterling? No follow-up on him? That is a problem. On the flip side, a guy who writes me, I think his name is Kevin Scott, sent me a video recently of a fighter on an LFA card getting brutally knocked out, and it was on Access TV, and that's the case I'm talking about here. Access controls the production for those shows, right? Like 3-4 fights later, they came out of a commercial break and gave us an update on the fighter and told us that he went to the hospital, that he's been checked out, etc. That's all it takes, 10, 15 seconds. That's a small example, but I think that's where the sport is at right now, and that's what needs to be done. An honest presentation of the sport. And this is no knock on anyone who's producing it now. This is no knock on the broadcasters, who I think the very highly of. But this, at the end of the day, they're answering to the UFC. And the promoters of the UFC are going to want to present the sport in the cleanest way possible. I get it. I understand where everyone's coming from. I just think in 2018 and beyond, it's important for them to give up control and, of course, have the right people in place. They're not just going to give it up to anyone, of course. They're going to have the right producers, the right people in place, and to present it like a real sport in an honest way. Talk about weight cuts. Talk about how much someone weighs on fight night. Talk about what happened, with the drug test failure. Talk about all this stuff. This is all important. It can't be swept under the rug. It has come a long way, but I feel like there's more room that can be gained, and I feel like the way in which to do that is, ceding production control. So it's going to happen. We're about to find out at some point. You'll recall they announced the Fox deal in August of 2011, so there were 4 months left. And then they had that UFC on Fox 1 show, before it actually kicked in. So there's 8 months left? Yeah, 8 months left in 2018. So I don't presume it happens at the 11th hour, the last month of the year. So it's going to happen in the next few months, I would imagine. And there are a lot of smart people who think it's very close. Dana White himself, I asked him at the post-fight press conference at UFC 223. He said they are close. And the other story to, of course, follow is the wrestling, story, the WWE story, and where do they end up? I think that would be a no-brainer for Fox. I think that would be huge. They're getting, at minimum 2 million, 3 million viewers a week, and they can have Ronda Rousey on every single Monday and Tuesday if they want. UFC can't have Conor fight on FS1 ever. And if you're fighting, even if you're a great star, you're fighting only 2-3 times a year max. So I feel like the investment, for Fox would be gigantic. If they could get both, great. But we'll see what happens. I don't even remember what the question was. Oh, if there was any truth to it. Yeah.
No, it wasn't specifically about the Therese Owens report. It was just the update, which I think you've definitely done. But as some of the things you mentioned were in that report by Therese Owens regarding the number of pay-per-view events and the production being controlled by the actual broadcaster rather than the organization.
I would be very curious to see if they actually end up doing that, because I know Dana White and company have never wanted to do that, but this is a new era, and maybe they just don't want to assume those responsibilities.
Sure. Okay. Because the giveaway was a Sean O'Malley shirt, naturally there were a lot of questions related to Sean O'Malley and proclivities that Sean O'Malley has. From Derek, in honor of the Sugar shirts, if you could smoke weed with any prolific weed smoker, who would it be? As a weed smoker yourself, who would?
I mean, I don't take interest in that sort of thing. I don't know if you're trying to incriminate me here.
No, I know you don't.
But I will say this: I don't have many vices in terms of I never drink. I don't smoke. I've never actually put a cigarette to my lips.
Good.
In my
don't
life.
Ever.
But I will say this: if you're going to do anything, you might as well go with an expert, right? So, who are the experts? Someone asked me, can you do? I think it was even for SB Nation. They're doing some kind of weed week. Can you do, some radio interviews about the Diaz brothers and O'Malley? I was like, I'm not the guy to talk about that. What do I know about this stuff?
They'd be good ones though.
Yeah, I guess those are the guys. Those are the most
Snoop Dogg and all those.
Yeah, Snoop.
Prolific weed heads.
Snoop, talks smack about MMA fighters.
Oh, you know what? That's right.
I'm on Team Matt Brown.
I'm with you on that. I like that. Sugar Sean was born in October 1994. Can you name the 2 UFC events just before that and just after that?
Well, I mean, it was UFC 1 and 2. No?
How about do the headliner?
Well, Hoist Gracie against Gerard Gordeau.
Yep.
Right? And so what was the question again?
Name the events. Maybe he wants the titles, but that's good.
Oh, name the events. Jeez. Well, I don't think UFC 1 had a name to it.
Did.
Oh, the beginning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice one. Who was the main event on UFC 2?
Also Hoist. Right?
Yep.
Tournament. Was it a tournament?
Yeah, it was a tournament. Patrick Smith.
That's right.
How about UFC 3?
You mean the American Dream?
Oh, nice.
That's everyone knows about that one. Harold Howard against Steve Jenham. Stephen Bonner's favorite, Steve Jenham.
That's right.
There was an interview. There was an interview that we did where we talked about Steve Jenham, who was the master of ninjutsu.
That's right. One more.
What's the other one? Oh, UFC 4?
Yeah, what was UFC 4?
Of course. He was in attendance on Saturday. Dan Severn.
Versus?
Hoist Gracie.
Do you got the name?
No.
Revenge of the Warriors. I really miss the named event days. I like it.
Yeah.
But damn, you did really well on that.
Thanks.
I mean, it would have been too easy to just say like UFC 1, UFC 2, UFC 2.
Yeah. Well, actually, I feel like the tougher one would be the names.
Oh,
The
it's
tougher question.
I feel like that's impossible. Yeah.
There's very few that I can remember. Like I always remember Validation, UFC 78. I remember 125. I think was Resolution. But yeah, those. What was 76? Was 76 was like Payback or something? I don't know.
Let's see if that's right.
That was
Knockout.
That was Jardine against Chuck Liddell. And of course, the greatest one of all time was UFC 73 Stacked. I had the birthday party at the bar, and it was kind of stacked, but it ended up being such a horrible event. And I was so upset because you get all these. I've told this story before where I get like, friends and family.
You got to watch it.
Out. Yeah, and it ends up being the worst.
Listen,
Rashad Evans and Tito fight to a draw.
Wait till Justin Gaethje's fighting, and then you got a guarantee on that one.
Such a bummer.
Brian Kelleher, friend of the show, UFC 135er, says, "How much sugar does it take to give you diabetes?"
What's up with Brian Kelleher being a hater? Boom.
Yeah, not a fan.
Kelleher's fighting John Lineker. You're doing very well for yourself.
Yeah, that's a big fight.
Hater. On the one hand, I'll say good for him. He's like, he's planting that seed.
Sure,
big time fight, winnable fight. But damn, responding to my tweet about the show, but the diabetes. Kudos to you. I didn't get it. You're the one who got it.
The Mayan.
Yeah.
Think like.
How did you even think of that?
I know.
See, this is the way I think.
New York thing.
This is the way I think. I was thinking like he was saying like, man, this show is so good. It's like diabetes.
Too sweet.
Like, it's like sugar for.
Yeah, I thought that was an option too, but I knew where the head was at.
Hater.
It's a New York thing. Shout out to Brian Keller. What color from Papa de la Pert? What color would a Smurf turn if you choked it?
What color would a Smurf turn?
You choke a Smurf. It's asphyxiating.
I'm going to say white.
That's a good call, actually. What do you think, Srinivas? He says green.
Green? Yeah, I guess.
No, I don't. I think white is the right answer.
I'm sure in the history of the Smurfs, they've
maybe there's probably been a thing. But I like your answer.
Is this a question is a hot dog a sandwich?
Well, similar. As I said, I asked for some interesting ones. So there's one question that people need to know, which is, would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
By the way, this is a thing. Choking the Smurf is a thing.
Well, this sounds like what's it called? Urban Dictionary, and I don't think we need to read that. Whatever.
Okay, well, how about this? If you choke a Smurf, what color will it turn? When a naked skin vertebrae is choked, namely humans, their face turn red because surface capillaries in the skin dilate and blood rushes in. Believe it or not, this was answered on an episode of The Smurfs in which one of them threatened to hold his breath until he turned red.
Turn red? Don't you turn blue?
And there are a ton of. Okay, this is clearly a thing. There are a ton of.
This is also a thing.
Okay.
You have a fight.
Yes.
Are you fighting one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
I'm going with the horse-sized duck.
Really?
Yeah, because just one punch and you're done.
Oh, you just want to get it over with?
Yeah, why would I want to
I think I could beat the 100 duck-sized horses.
100? One horse?
You take a few out at once.
Wait.
You're
you want like mini horses coming at you?
100? Yeah, they're
no
duck-sized though. They're small.
Get the hell out of here. Have you ever been around like 20 ducks? It's very annoying. But one duck who's just sitting there who can't even like extend his arms, right? What is he going to do? All I have to do is like get out of the way. He's trying to hit me with his beak. All I have to do is punch him, kick him.
But he's the size of a horse. He's very big.
Yeah, exactly. But he can't. He's stationary. He's not moving.
So do you think you can win then? You said you just want to get knocked out quick.
No, I knock him out quick.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh.
But if you got 100 of them coming at you.
Oh, so you're knocking it out. You're taking it out.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll take the 100, but I don't like my odds in either of them.
I like my odds very much.
Ariel, are you a heads or tails kind of guy when it comes to coin flip?
Wow.
Where do you go?
These are great questions. I'm a heads guy.
Yeah, I'm a tails guy. That's interesting.
Where? It feels like tails is like the bum. It's losers pick tails. Heads is like the front, tails is the back. That's the way I think. So you got to be at the top.
That's the way you think? On a 50-50 thing,
I'm thinking, okay, let's go with, head first.
Pick the other 50-50 option. Yeah, I'm a tails guy. I'm also black on roulette.
Yeah, I'm black too.
I always go black.
This is riveting stuff.
Last one.
Okay.
Patrick Curran asking the important questions.
Uh-huh.
Do the Cavs make it back to NBA Finals?
You know, it's funny about the Cavs.
talk to
Yesterday
me.
I tuned in, and I thought, takes a while to flip the switch, playoffs.
Sure.
But I got to tell you, I mean, Victor Oladipo, my guy. Also,
Whoa, wait, timeout. He's your guy now?
well, I mean, the pride of
He
Indiana.
doesn't play for the Jazz. He doesn't play for the Knicks. He doesn't play for the Raptors. Any of your...
Brooklyn's own Lance Stevenson.
boy.
And of course, Canada's own Corey Joseph.
Oh,
I mean,
boy.
what a team they have over there. And CJ Miles, right? No, CJ Miles is on the Raptors. Miles Turner, I always get those two confused because they were on the same team. Anyways, the great Nate McMillan, formerly of the Seattle Supersonics. What a game plan he had put in place. I feel like if I'm a Cavs fan, I'm nervous.
No.
You're not nervous at all.
Young, scrappy team. You win game one. That's the game you win.
By the way, who'd have thought this?
You give it all you've
Pacers
got.
team being better than last year without Paul George is just amazing. But yes,
Yeah, credit to
Sabonis,
Presti.
Yeah, no, Presti was on OKC.
OKC. No.
It was what's his freaking name? God.
No.
Presti is the OKC GM.
Yeah.
It's
totally.
don't tell me.
Pritchard.
Yes, Kevin Pritchard.
Shout out to Kevin Pritchard for doing a move that everybody laughed at and then ended up being...
Didn't even get a draft pick.
But no, I'm not worried.
I would be worried. It's going at least 6.
Maybe. Could be a gentleman's sweep, I think.
Gentleman's sweep is 5?
Yeah.
No. Why is it called gentleman's sweep?
Well, because you didn't actually sweep.
Yeah, but why gentleman's?
Yeah, there's like a
Now, does
term.
gentleman's sweep
just
have to
means-
be you lose game 1 and then you win the next
Yes.
4, or is it
Yes.
any game 5 series?
It could be any game 5, but that's the true gentleman's sweep.
Okay, so
You win the 4 in a row.
every series has now had 1 game, right, in the
Yeah.
books. Let's go. I'm going with. Let's start with the East. Raptors in 5.
Sure, I'm with it. I think Washington sucks.
I'm going with Celtics in 7.
Sure.
I'm going with Philly in 5.
Yep.
I'm going with Pacers in 7.
Unbelievable.
And then I'm going with Rockets. Rockets, what a game yesterday. Rockets in 5.
I thought yesterday they hung tougher while playing worse.
All right. You don't have to agree with me.
Timberwolves did, but okay.
You don't have to agree.
No, well, I think the Rockets are going to win that regardless, but I think maybe they could push it to 6.
Rockets in 5.
Yeah.
Golden State in 4.
Yep, we're going to get to the interesting ones soon.
3 is don't tell me. Portland. That was what an upset. Yeah, that's a tough one. I'll go Portland in 7.
Okay.
Jazz in 5.
Jazz in 5. Damn, look at you. Showing out. Okay. I think it's time.
Okay.
But great show.
Yes. thank
Man,
you.
Jonas,
bringing the heat.
the man.
Can't wait to get my care package
Yeah,
next week.
that's on you.
Take
Derek,
note.
I got your back.
Yeah, my bad.
I got your
My
back.
bad. All right.
Thank you, everybody. I'll
Thank-
reach out to the
Oh, yeah.
t-shirt winners
Okay.
on Twitter.
All right, cool. All right, thank you very much, New York Rick. Thank you very much to everyone in the back. Austin, you can my music. We don't guts to go home, but we do guts to get the hell out of here. What a show. What a day. Another show in the books. What episode is this? Episode... I don't even know. I think we're up there in the 400s, right? Another fun show in the books, my friends. And we discussed a lot with a lot of different people. Kudos to Michael Chandler. Big win Friday. Some of those ratings, though, that was weird. AJ McKee, Logan Storley, Kevin Ferguson Jr., big time performances. Rafael Sunsao, Rob Font, UFC 226. Ray Borg, Brandon Moreno rebooked for UFC Chile. As I said, OSP, Tyson Pedro in Singapore, and Tim Johnson signing with Bellator, leaving the UFC after a win in his last fight on his contract. UFC back on Saturday with the show at the Boardwalk Hall. Looking forward to that. We'll be back next week to recap all of that and a hell of a lot more. Thank you very much, Hushan Al-Shadi. Great stuff from him. Thank you very much to Megan Anderson. Good luck to her. Thank you very much to Mike Jackson. Good luck to him. June 9th. Thank you very much to Sean O'Malley. Congrats on the Reebok deal. Thank you very much to Kevin Lee. Good luck this Saturday. All the best to Antonina Shevchenko. Good luck to her this Saturday as well. Thank you very much to Dustin Poirier. Congrats to both him and Michelle Watterson. All the best to Santiago Ponzinibbio next month. And thank you very much to Rafael Dos Santos. Good luck to him. Thank you very much to Jonas Jarebko. And good luck to him in game 2. And of course, thank you very much to Kyle Bokniak as well. Back next week, same time and place. Until I say peace. Somebody out.